Good.
We meet to serve our community and endeavor to be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Let us be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, so that in our deliberations we may display imagination, wisdom, and courage, and the will to do our work for the good of all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Mississaugas of the New Credit, and the Anishinaabe people, many of whom still occupy this area. Madam Clerk, the roll call.
Your Worship, all members of council are present this evening with the exceptions of Councillor Dubanow and Councillor Zanko.
Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Councillor McDermott.
Yes, Your Worship. When we get to Community Gaming Development Corporation minutes, I'll have to declare a conflict because my son works for the Niagara YMCA.
Okay. Any others? Madam Clerk, I have, with respect to the same report, which is item 9.2.3B in our minutes, I have a pecuniary interest with respect to matters relating to the Crystal Ridge Community Center. So I won't participate in the vote on that, and I'll ask the chair to be assumed by Councillor Butler. Okay. That then takes us to notice of upcoming public meetings, and we have a series of budget meetings, the next one of which is on Wednesday, December the 4th, when we'll be dealing with the water and wastewater operating budget and user fees analysis. On Wednesday, January the 22nd, 2020, we'll be dealing with the general levy operating budget and assessment analysis, as well as the library budget. And on January 29th, 2020, if required, we'll deal with anything that is left over. With respect to bylaws, we will be considering the bylaw relative to the preliminary capital budget on Monday, December the 9th, 2019. We will be dealing with the water and wastewater budget and rates bylaw on January the 20th, 2020, and on February the 10th, 2020, we will be dealing with the general levy budget and general capital budget if all things go according to plan. All meetings are scheduled at 6 o'clock. All meetings are held here in the Town Hall Council Chamber. That takes us to the Regional Councillor report. Good evening, Councillor Encina.
Hey, Redekop, councillors, good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the Regional Council, we have created the Women's Advisory Committee. The committee is open to everyone and anyone. And applications are being accepted at the region, and I'm hopeful that there will be members of our community that will apply. The committee will be comprised of a maximum of 15 individuals, of which 4 will be from Regional Council. Right now, Councillor Butters, Dip, and Hewson have already been appointed to the committee. The region will be moving forward with the Vision Zero Road Safety Program that will encompass several new programs for the region. The safety program will employ automated speed enforcement areas, red light camera areas, community safety zones, and will be looking at the implementation of cameras on school bus swing arms. Regional staff will be initiating discussions with local municipalities, and we'll be meeting with staff here to see, because I believe there are a few agreements that have to be reached first before that can be implemented. I believe some of it is a cost sharing. Regional Council has approved the on-demand transportation project for the Niagara Regional Transit Service expansion. The service will be a one-year trial basis for the system that will see Crystal Beach be linked to the hubs of St. Catharines and Niagara Falls. The on-demand system will utilize Via Mobility Company. Staff of the region will be engaging town staff here to confirm partnerships and the service parameters about the pilot project. On Thursday, December 19th at 9:30 a.m., a gentleman by the name of Ian Dijon will be making a presentation with regards to housing and homelessness. It will be, invitations have been sent out. I believe all council are supposed to have received them. It was an event, I believe, Eventbrite, that you would have received. It's for a ticket. So if you haven't, please let me know. I will ensure that one is sent to you. It is something that he has done several things throughout the States and throughout Canada with regards to homelessness, affordable housing. The EMS second quarter report, excuse me, for Niagara Emergency Medical Services was presented at Council. The report was reflective of the implementation of the new teams that had been created and employed as of September of this year. The creation of the emergency communications nurse system, which has been very positive. It's like having a triage nurse at the communications. It will not detract from sending an ambulance out. It will actually assist. So a triage nurse is actually there in the communications. But when it comes in, they can either go to if the nurse can step in and say, you need to do this or this, rather than send an ambulance. Preliminary outcomes thus far for the MHEART, which deals with mental health patients, the FIT team, which deals with elderly who have fallen, and the CARE team, which is dealing with people who are just unwell and don't need to go to the hospital, has resulted in a decrease in transports to emergency departments by up to 6%. Over 800 patients have been referred to other health avenues instead of using ambulance services. The lights and siren responses have gone down from 40% to 9%, while the requirement for fire services assistance has fallen from 24% down to 9%. All that being said, Niagara EMS continues to strive for more efficiencies in order to assist us. Of note, they are leading the way provincially. They are being seen as model to follow the rest of the province. On this Wednesday, I will be attending a National Housing Day event at the Scotiabank Centre in Niagara Falls. It is hoped that members of this council will be in attendance. There's also, on December 2nd and 3rd, Niagara Regional Housing will be hosting information sessions for builders and developers entitled Ready, Set, Build. The intention of this is to bring those interested in developing housing in the region together to talk about the different options and programs that are available and the assistance that can be provided. There are limited seats available, so if there are developers or builders that are interested, they can contact Niagara Regional Housing, or they can contact myself and I will get them in touch with those that need to be. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Encina. Are there any questions of the regional councillor? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop, to Mr. Zinnia. Thank you for your report, Tom. The lagoon question.
Yes?
Do you know yet where the sludge or the biosolids are going to be going?
I don't know where they are going yet because from what I understand, hasn't been enacted yet. I did make a mistake in our communication in our last meeting about the roads. I did find out, in fact, that it wasn't a Niagara Regional road, but that wasn't your question. So I will be going back, and I have left messages at the region to get an answer to your question.
Okay, thank you. Another question I have, if I can continue. I know that Stevensville Road is on the timeline to be done in the next, I don't know if next year or the year after, but there is a railroad line that goes through there that's hasn't been functioning for many times. It's no longer being used. So I'm hoping that, considering the track isn't being used, before you guys go to all the expense of fixing the road and making allowances for the track that's not being used, that someone would contact the railroad, whoever owns the track, to see if it could be, taken out so that the road can just be empty of any tracks on that particular section. I don't think that track has been used for probably about 5 to 10 years.
Is that the one through? Is that the one by towards the Tim Hortons up that way?
Yes. And one more of a comment to Councillor Insignia is that actually you were talking about the new EMS and the fall prevention program. And I just wanted to comment that I actually had a call from the EMS. One of my clients was one of the people who benefited from it. And so it's a small world, and basically it was fall prevention. They saw my name on the thing, knew I was the OT, and you know, we had discussed the case. So it doesn't just limit it. They really do try to reach out to any other people involved in that person's care, and I think it worked out quite well.
Thank you, Councillor Noyes. Any other councillors? There being none, then I missed a portion of the agenda. I missed announcements, and there were two things that I wanted to make reference to, as well as a third that Councillor McDermott wanted to comment on. The first item that I wanted to make an announcement about was we have a local Korean veteran, Romeo Daly, who has been very actively involved in the Korean War Veterans Association. And about 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, he received another honor from the Governor General of Canada with respect to his volunteer service for the Korean Veterans Association. He's been very, very active along with his wife and several others. There are now only 13 living Korean veterans still living in Niagara, and there's a dwindling number of Korean veterans in Canada. When you think about it, that war ended in 1953, so that even a 20-year-old in 1953 would be 86 years of age now. They had a luncheon on Saturday, both the Niagara and Hamilton units of the association. It was very well attended, and there were a lot of old soldiers there. But they were certainly very proud of their service to the country, as are we. Second thing, I wanted to mention that we have on our agenda this evening acceptance, a motion to accept the resignation of Greg Bailey from the Transit Advisory Committee. And he did file a notice of resignation recently because of his serious health issues. And I'm sorry to say that he has succumbed to those. He passed away, I believe, yesterday. And so although he has passed away, formally speaking, we do have to pass the resolution because he did resign prior to his death. So we will continue to deal with that point. The third item was, it was another warm, balmy day for the Santa Claus parade. I think anybody that was in it or stood and watched almost froze to death. I'm sure being in the parade is exciting for everyone, and watching the parade was very exciting. It was very well run as usual. And Councillor McDermott, you are the representative of the Bridgeburg BIA. I know that you wanted to pass on your appreciation to a few people.
Barb Horning and Stephen Pissarro, the co-elves of the Santa Claus Parade, have asked me to thank some individuals here at the town for their assistance in helping with planning and the resources for this year's parade. They'd like to thank Tom Cookett, George Stojanovic, and Al Stoper, and Kelly Walsh, who, contrary to popular belief, his heart is not two sizes too small. There were 72 parade entries, 36 volunteers, hundreds of participants, and thousands of spectators. And both Barb and Stephen are thrilled with the enthusiasm and effort and the Christmas spirit on full display once again. And thank all of those good folk. And you're absolutely right about the cold. I couldn't even feel my bottom half as I was walking out. So, but all in all, there was a good crowd. It was a great parade, and I thank all the individuals who made that happen.
Well, I'm hoping that you've thought out by now, Councillor McDermott. Good. Glad to hear that. Okay, so let's get back to order. That takes us to presentations and delegations. And our first delegation is Don Gilbert and John Sander, who are representatives of Fortis Ontario, Inc. and Canadian Niagara Power, Inc. in that reverse order. Good evening, sir. I'm doing very well.
Good.
You're Don Gilbert. So
I am
guessing
Don
it's John
Gilbert.
Sander.
Thank you. Yeah, this is John right here with me. First of all, thank you, Mayor Redekop and the council and the staff of that town to have us in and kind of give you a little bit of an overview of how things have been going with the company lately. We were in to see you, or I was in to see you a couple of weeks ago, and we both thought it would be a great idea that if we had an opportunity to come in and showcase a few of the things that have been going on at Canadian Niagara Power, explaining maybe some of the little issues we've been having. But we also decided or thought that it would be better to have a more regular visit with you and become a more bonded group. So we're going to do that. We're going to make a commitment to come at the end of the year, which is what we're doing right now, to kind of showcase the things that have been going on within our organization, and at the beginning of the year to let you know what we plan for the year to come. So that being said, I'm sure that we are all aware that the most recent Halloween event caused quite a bit of stir around the community. I'm just going to, can I just use this one? Is that fair? Okay, so, and do I point it? I know, I'm not very technically savvy, just for the record. That works too. There we go. Okay. So our agenda tonight basically is to talk about the major weather event that we had on the 31st, and that ran into about 4 days. We're going to give you a little sort of an analysis on our system reliability, which we are very pleased to report has been improving over the last couple of years. Also the system enhancements that we've taken on, including that investment, give you an understanding of what we're doing on our operations and maintenance programs. And John's going to talk to you about how we're going to communicate better as a company to all of our customers. So just to quickly, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but to kind of, I think we all had a pretty good sense of what happened on the 31st and into the next day. That storm commenced at approximately 1700 hours. That's when I first saw our feeders starting to interrupt. Excuse me, just for one other second. I did also invite Barry Hogan, who is the Director of Operations for Fortis Ontario, in with us just to be here in case there was any questions that I struggle with that he can help us out with. So anyway, Barry, thank you for coming. Also, the winds in excess of 130 kilometers an hour were realized in our service territory. Now, we haven't seen any types of that type of a storm in an awful long time. However, I will say the last number of storms that we've experienced have been very, very aggressive. So at the end of the day, I don't see these stopping, but our system is strengthening, and we're gonna continue to get better as we go. At the height of that storm, we saw 8,700 customers without power. That's 33% of our customer base. 42 broken poles, and to put that into context, the last time that we had anything near those numbers in terms of broken poles was 2006, the White October storm of 2006. A regular storm or a regular event for us where we're going to see high winds, we sometimes realize 3, 4, 5 broken poles, but we had 42 broken poles on this on this one night. 450 work orders we processed in 5 days, and that included everything from trees on lines, wires down everywhere, broken poles, services torn down, customer service stacks torn down. To, you know, things that weren't even ours to have to deal with, the bell wires down, the Kojikos down, everything else that is attached to us with the joint use. And we also received approximately 3,000 calls over those 4 days. Give you a bit of a summary of what kind of went down. So October 31st, day zero, so to speak, we started out with about 4,500 people out of power. Day 1.5, which was after midnight that night, we were up to about 8,700 customers out. What I will suggest to you is it got so bad that night that we couldn't continue with our crews out. We had to pull everybody back in for the safety of our workers. So we spent about a 4.5 hour period. We were just attending to fire calls, just attending to something that we would consider imminent danger and an emergency right away. By day 2, we were down to 3,300 customers out, and we had 45 crew members in from Niagara Falls, from Welland, from our partner contractors. We had 45 people on the ground, pretty much as we can handle in terms of on a cycle that we were working. We were working 24/7. We had people on the street from the time it started till the time it finished. By day 3, which was the Sunday, we were down to 400 people out of power, 2,900 restored that day. With 45 crew members. Day 4, we were down to 76 people out of power, and with the 40 members still on site. And by day 5, we were down to 37. And those last 37 were basically just disconnects that we had to deal with because service wires were torn down. we couldn't reconnect them at the time because ESA had to do what they have to do before we would consider that safe. So that just kind of gives you a bit of an understanding of the significance and I think how well the operational staff at Canadian Niagara Power performed that day. I spoke to a bunch of colleagues in Welland, and he was in town dropping some things out from Port Colborne. Just couldn't believe the devastation. I think they experienced maybe 6 broken poles in Welland. He drove through there and said it was like a hurricane that had gone through Port Colborne. And again, I will pat the group on the back, Barry, John, that group did a tremendous job. We didn't hear a whole lot from the town of Fort Erie, so I assumed that, Tom, everything was pretty much as expected it would be from us. So I'm glad to report that, again, we didn't hear very much from the town. And thank you for not getting in the way too much, because it does get a little bit confusing at times, especially when you're trying to manage that many people and that many outages. So that was it for the storm. In terms of system reliability, going back to 2017 and back beyond that, our performance level was not the greatest. Our SAIDI, system average iteration duration indices, was relatively high. We went through a number of years of issues. I think that the town will agree that the Emerald Ash Borer has been a real big problem on all of us. End of life cycle on a lot of the equipment that we've been dealing with, our wildlife equipment failure, we've been having a lot of that. But in the last number of years, we've made significant investment into the town, and what you're seeing is that SAIDI crawl down and down and down, and we anticipate a good year again this year. Keeping in mind, these do not include major event. Like on the other day, this is beyond what is the normal day-to-day operations, but this is a good news story for the town of Fort Erie when it comes to your SAIDI. Oh, yeah, let's go back. Again, the key contributors, weather and wind still. Even though we are getting these major events, we're also getting a lot more minor wind events that we didn't used to get. And I can assure you that I haven't seen anything like that in the last 4 years have been, in my 35 years, have been the worst. And in the region, by far the worst, as far as the wind and the events that we've been having, and the bore itself. So looking at the investment, and I'm sure you've all seen around town what's been going on in terms of how we're building it. Our biggest two areas that we've been focusing on are the line rebuilds and the voltage conversion. Canadian Niagara Power historically was a 4.8 kV delta system. I know that probably doesn't mean much to anything, but it's an antiquated voltage, and we have been very, very aggressive in trying to remove that 4.8 kV delta out of your system. We want to go to a safer system. It's not that it's not safe, but it's a safer and more reliable Y system that we're dealing with right now. Currently, we anticipate the delta being out of the system within 5 years. I think you probably, anybody driving around town can see us in the north end on the other side of the highway, just going at as much of a rebuild of that system as we can, and that is to support the new substation that we built at Gilmore, our Station 18 across from Bridgewater there. So that was one of our bigger deals. You'll see on their distribution automation, what that means is focusing on minimizing outage as we experience it. The technologies that we're placing into our system right now allow us a better visibility into that system. So what it allows us to do is to isolate and focus and find where the outage is and restore the power automatically without having to have human impact with that. So you'll see a little bit more of that each year. We're going to be investing in that. We've got a pilot project going right now, which is worth about $500,000. We intend on expanding on that and making it just kind of be throughout our whole service territory. Wildlife is a huge problem with us lately. Squirrels and birds and everything that goes along with them and their interaction with hydro lines. We have just implemented a program that will protect all of our critical equipment. We're going to try to phase that in over the next 3 to 4 years and protect all that critical equipment and try to minimize impact to our customers as well. You're going to see a new substation on, we've talked to the town already about the new substation on Rose Hill. The growth in this town is just unbelievable, and we're doing our best to work with the town to try to keep up with that growth. I know it impacts some other things we do in terms of removing old poles at times, and we had a discussion about that, and we told you where we were with that, and we're going to try to do a better job. And having our joint users keep us in the know as to when they're finished. But the growth has just been unbelievable. We're seeing 600, 700, 800 connectable homes in the last 3 or 4 years, something that we had never seen in the past. Our system access budget has gone from $300,000-400,000 a year to $2.7 million, and that's a huge amount of effort on our part to have to try to keep up with without growing staff and raising costs and all these things that go along with it. I imagine eventually it's going to slow a little bit, but in the near future, I don't think so. So maybe that's a great thing. The substation on Rose Hill Road is something that we're really going to be proud of. That'll take a lot of the load off or the burden off of what's already there, and it'll give us another strengthened system that will support the customers better. Approximately $9 million in annual investment over the past 4 years throughout the two cities. These are the kinds of things you're seeing on the streets. There's a new substation on Gilmore Road. The DA, that middle recloser section there, those are the types of things that we're going to be able to deal with in terms of helping get the power on quicker. New line rebuilds everywhere in Fort Erie, and new underground subdivisions everywhere in Fort Erie that we've been attending to. So that's kind of what's going on. As well as, and I didn't see my operations slide, it must have got cut out of here for some reason, but again, $500,000 a year in vegetation management every year, critical switch maintenance we're dealing with every year. We do an infrared scan of 1/3 of the system every year on the distribution system and the transmission system. And just doing our best to maintain the system as best we can. So I'm going to turn the floor over before we open it up to you, but I'll turn the floor over to John for a second here, and he'll give you a bit of a lowdown on the customer. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, for sure.
Motion to extend the time, Councillor Butler.
Oh, I apologize.
Councillor McDermott, for another, how long do you think you'll be, Mr. Sander?
I'll keep it to.
You can be 5 minutes?
No more than 5 minutes.
Perfect. Another 5 minutes. All in favor? That's carried.
Sorry about that.
It's quite all right. It's very interesting, and I think the public really would like to have this type of information. Mr. Sander.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Redekop, councillors, and members of the community. Good evening. I wanted to follow up a little bit more on what Don referred to from a customer communication perspective. As you participated in as much as we did, that there were a number of outages during that last large weather event, and communication was a big part of our mandate to improve where possible. We use traditional methods, what I say traditional things that we've done in the past with social media. We sent out updates to the town and to the media, but to me that's still a fairly manual and a fairly dated method of, that's sort of the brute force method where we were pushing it out, but we did try and get hourly updates out to people as needed. What we're looking at implementing are two areas. One, the second one I'll get to is more on the outage notification, but the first one is a customer self-help portal that's scheduled for February of 2020. That's going to give you a lot of self-help tools with respect to outages and e-billing. I'll get into that in a moment. And the second is customer outage notifications, which will be scheduled for Q1 of 2020. There's a lot of prerequisite development that needs to go in to leverage our current outage management system. So there's a fair bit of R&D going on right now to make that happen. But just to give you a bit of background on the self-help portal, that's going to be a product we're partnering with a third party that's been using or has been rolling out this similar technology to a number of different other utilities in Ontario, Electra as an example. Basically giving you kind of one-stop shopping for your online payments, your payment history, your consumption, and updating personal information. Our current system is disparate in that there's two separate logins. I don't know if any of you are using any of that right now, but we found that to be inconsistent from a user experience and not as reliable as what we're looking to move to. So generally an improvement, bringing all of the information that's relevant to you into one location. And again, that's going to be hopefully February of 2020, if not maybe a little earlier. There'll be communications coming out to existing subscribers of our e-billing and so forth, as well as some marketing to the existing customer base. Related to the storm or even smaller events, outage notification is very important. And basically what we've heard in our customer satisfaction surveys is that you simply want to know that we're aware that your power is out by giving you some basic information about the outage. And that could be in the form of known outage areas, some of the current restoration effort, the head count of customers that are currently without power, and also notifying the customers regarding various services, whether it's planned or unplanned. These messages are going to come to you in the form of a text-based notification. So it's a simple matter of subscribing to the service through your mobile number. And what we're going to do is we have a bunch of mobile numbers already in the system. What we'll probably do is send out a welcome message, basically requesting your subscription to the service. If you feel you don't want to, you can simply just text back stop, and then it'll never come back to you. But it'll be an auto enrollment, and then you can simply accept or not accept. And then when we have outages like this, you will be getting these updates directly to your phone. With as much information that we have, we'll certainly share it with you. And again, that's going to be a Q1 of 2020. And I think with that, that's it. Thank you.
Very good timing, Mr. Sander. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This is very important information, and it's, I'm sure, quite enlightening to council, members of council and staff, and all of the community. So having said that, I'll ask if there are any members of council that have any questions. Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Through to the presenters, Mr. Gilbert and Mr. Sander, thank you for your presentation. We here at council discuss increasing our industrial base. If a large company that, let's say, for lack of better words, is energy intensified, like needs a lot of energy, would you guys be able to provide the energy required?
Yeah, we had this discussion actually previously, and the reality is that we can do anything anybody wants us to do. We actually have a fantastic amount of energy available to you here. It's the delivery mechanism that we have to deal with. A lot of the companies that we deal with don't necessarily want to locate in the areas where there's already power. So we have to be cognizant of that, and we have to be cognizant of the ratepayer and what that impact to that ratepayer is. So if we work with the town regularly, we meet almost monthly, and I think we haven't missed many meetings, Tom. Is that fair to say that we've been in almost everything that you've asked? And whenever those developers are in, or those people that are in, we're there to answer the questions that they need answered.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other councillors? Thank you very much then, gentlemen. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and look forward to coming again. Thank you very
Look forward
much.
to hearing from you again.
All right, bye-bye now.
Thank you. That takes us to the next delegation, and it will be Theodore Mollicone and Emily Thomas on behalf of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee. And all those eager individuals sitting in the first two rows are part of MIAC.
Okay, so
Good evening.
good evening.
Thank you for having us. So my name is Theodore Mollicone. I am the chair of the Fort Erie Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee.
And I'm Emily Thomas, and I'm the vice chair.
Over the past few months, two members, including our vice chair, have put together this video to show who we are, and it showcases how we are all just regular teenagers in this town, and we all have the power to make a difference in our own way.
We all are a part of our own extracurriculars. We all are still in high school, and we all have our lives outside of talking to the mayor and to the town on behalf of the youth. So this video just kind of shows how we are big in our community and how we provide to our town and help out with volunteer work and certain things. So I think we can go on to the video.
The Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee is a group dedicated to providing a voice to the youth of Fort Erie. Our committee was formed over 5 years ago and started out as a group of 6. We have now grown to a group of 19. Our members range in ages from 13 to 18 years old. MIAC members are passionate about volunteering, engaging, and leading in their communities and participate in a wide variety of activities representing different parts of Fort Erie. From theater and music to gymnastics and hockey, volunteering at the SPCA, and participating in community art projects. Our members each provide a unique perspective.
We are the voice of our peers to council, the town, and the mayor. We have volunteered to plant trees and participated in beach cleanup for Earth Day. We have been a part of the Friendship Festival and the Canada 150 celebration, as well as providing wheelchair accessible seating for the Santa Claus Parade. Becoming a member of MIAC allows our members opportunities to learn about the town government and politics and build connections and relationships for future careers. Our group meets once a month at Town Hall, and a typical meeting involves discussing upcoming town projects, our own events, and ways to improve the experience of the youth in Fort Erie. Our meetings are attended by our members, the mayor, and any special guests who may be participating in upcoming projects. For youth who are interested in a future career in politics, being part of a committee provides valuable experience into the inner workings of town government. It teaches leadership, how to compromise, teamwork, and helps to bridge the gap between our generation to the ones before.
We have been fortunate enough to work with the Communities in Bloom, the Youth Hub, the Fort Erie Army Cadets, and many more. We are very thankful that we've had the opportunity to be a part of this committee, and we can't wait to work with the town and the community on future projects.
Very good.
That concludes our presentation.
So yeah.
Great. Well, I want to thank all of your members and the two of you for the engagement over the past several years, as you've mentioned. And we did receive information. We recently dealt with a couple of reports regarding new parks that are going to be built in Fort Erie. And we did receive your input with respect to both of those parks. We've got further parks that will be developed in town, and we're expecting that our staff will be consulting you as well with respect to that. And there are other issues that we very much appreciate your input. I know that you've got a list of activities that you've been engaged in and that you've got planned for the future, and I know we had a long meeting today talking about that. So on behalf of council, I want to very much express our appreciation to your involvement in the things that you do. Now, before you go, I'll ask if there are any members of council that have any questions of you. If not, then your video, I guess, said it all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're going to embark upon our business. If you folks would like to take your leave now, you're more than welcome to do that, or you're welcome to stay. I'll leave that to you. So there is one item that needs to come out of the consent agenda, and that is item 9.3.2B, because both Councillor McDermott and I have a conflict with respect to the minutes of the Community Gaming Development Corporation. So let's deal with all of the, unless there are other consent agenda items that anyone would like removed. If not, then let's deal with all of the consent agenda items with the exception of 9.2.3B. And Councillor Lubberts, you have the resolution for that.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Butler. The council approves the consent agenda items as recommended, save and except for items 9.23B, the Community Gaming Development Corporation minutes.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments with respect to any of the items? Councillor Noyes.
Yes, I have a question about the community gaming, the minutes of September 25th.
We're not dealing, we have to deal with that separately because Councillor
that's
McDermott and I
separate.
have a conflict. So that will come up next. Any other items that anyone wishes to raise questions on? Would anyone like to consider supporting the City of Niagara Falls school bus camera legislation? That basically feeds into what Regional Councillor Incina was speaking about in terms of the zero road safety programming. Councillor Noyes? So we would, so that's a motion to amend. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Butler. So that would be item 9.2A. Instead of receive, that would be support. Any questions or comments on that motion to amend? There being none, all those in favor of the amendment? Unopposed, that is carried. So are there any questions with respect to the balance of the items in the consent agenda as amended? None, all those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And Councillor Butler, could I hand you the chair so that Councillor Lubberts could deal with item 9.2.3B of the consent agenda?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Lubberts, you have that motion?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Moved by myself and seconded. I'll need a different seconder, I guess, right? Councillor Noyes, will you second? Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes that council approves consent agenda item 9.23B, the Community Gaming Development Corporation minutes.
Thank you, Councillor. That report is now on the floor. Any comments or questions? Councillor Noyes?
Thank you, Councillor Butler, about the community gaming. In reading it, and I did have a chance to discuss this with the CAO, Mr. Cookett, earlier today. Grace is, I think, still on vacation. Now, they talked about a press release, that there wasn't going to be a press release until 2020 at some point. And I'm just wondering what, like, I know that we've had the chair here several months ago, and now it looks like there's going to be another delay, and I'm not quite sure why. And there was no mention in it at all about a public meeting. I don't know, maybe that's part of the press release, I don't know. And the other thing was there is an allocation to, I think it's called Victory for Education. And I'm not familiar with that particular organization. I just wonder, I'm sure they probably do wonderful things, but I'm just not familiar with it.
Mr. Cookett, can you speak to those?
Through you, Chair, to the councillor. I did have a conversation with Councillor Noyes earlier today, and I appreciate the phone call. Unfortunately, Grace is on vacation, so I wasn't able to get her answers, but I can provide answers. I believe the media release was a good news story about the additional monies that they've been taking in, but I don't want to speak to it a lot because I don't have all the facts. I do recall them wanting to put it off until a better time to put that out there to the public. But I can get the answers to the others, awards, or the recommendation to provide funding to those other groups there, the one that you had mentioned as well. I'm not sure. And unfortunately, Councillor Dubanow is not here as well.
Councillor Noyes?
Thank you. I look forward to receiving that information.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries. Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Butler. That takes us then to new business and inquiries. And Councillor Lubberts, you have the first resolution, which deals with the resignation of Greg Bailey.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that council accepts the resignation of Greg Bailey from the Transit Advisory Committee, and further that council directs staff to proceed with filling the vacancy in accordance with the procedural bylaw.
Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Butler?
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have any questions but a comment because I did serve with Mr. Bailey, and I did transport him throughout town during the last term. And I was shocked to learn of his death this evening, so I'm very sorry to hear that. And I would be remiss if I didn't say a couple of words with respect to him as an individual and the and though he was very vocal, he was very kind and thoughtful. And I think that that should be out in the marketplace to let everybody know that he was a good person and very well-meaning. So thank you.
He was, and those words are completely appropriate. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the resolution? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Noyes, you have the next resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that Council accepts the resignation of Tammy Clark from the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and further, Council directs staff to proceed the filling of the vacancy in accordance with the procedural bylaw.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Butler, you have the next resolution.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that Council accepts the resignation of Carol Odette Bocock from the Communities in Bloom Committee, and further that Council directs staff to proceed with filling the vacancy in accordance with the procedural bylaw.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Is that a late in favor or an early opposed? Thank you. That is carried. Councillor Noyes, you have the next resolution, resolution number 5.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that Council appoints Adam McLeod to the Accessibility Advisory Committee for the period ending November 14th, 2022.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And Councillor Butler, you have, I believe, Councillor Zanko's motion with respect to this next matter. Resolution number 6. This would be with respect to the appointment to the Transit Advisory Committee. What? Well, let's, Councillor, Madam Acting Clerk, were there 2 applicants for the appointment to the Transit Advisory Committee? Right, okay. This will be specifically for FAST. So we'll still be advertising and to fill the vacancy for Mr. Bailey, who was a user of the system. Right, thank you for clarifying that. No, that's fine, Councillor Butler.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes that Council appoints Lily Hancox to the Transit Advisory Committee as a regular user of FAST services for the period ending November 14th, 2022.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That is defeated. So, Madam Clerk, you will continue to advertise for someone to fill the vacancy for the
Your
FAST.
Worship, how we advertise for the vacancies on the transit is on the buses, and the drivers are provided with blank application forms.
Right, so you'll continue with whatever the process is. Thank you very much. Are there any other items, inquiries or items of new business? Councillor Lubberts.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. We got a memo or an email last week regarding the Brock University, and there's a committee that, or a group of municipalities within the region that are going to discuss or deal with adapting to the climate change. I don't know if everybody's received that. I received, and I'm just wondering, when I looked at who was participating with Brock, Fort Erie wasn't one of the municipalities that was involved. I'm just wondering, did we opt not to work with it, or
I wasn't aware of the initiative, and I may have seen that, which I guess maybe made me a little surprised. Mr. Cook, do you have any recollection or knowledge of this particular issue?
Through your worship to the councillor, yes, I do actually, and I can forward the email because another one just came through that Councillor Lubberts is referring to of the project, and they did reach out to us a while back. At that time, we didn't have any staffing that was available to join in. They wanted to keep the group fairly small, and I said I would like to be part of any discussions moving forward and provided any information that they had. So they're going to share all information that they do gather and regarding climate change and so forth, because I think it's in line with what the mayor is suggesting with his notice that is coming forward shortly.
Yeah, I have a notice of motion that I'm going to be giving with respect to requesting staff to prepare a report to give us advice and recommendations with respect to how we can deal with essentially emerging climate change issues. So that coupled with Mr. Cookett's engagement with Brock, I suppose, may go some distance to helping us deal with these matters.
So I guess my other question is, did Brock ask us to participate and we elected not to, or?
Mr. Cookett?
To your worship, that is correct. So it was discussed at our CAO meeting. We have quarterly meetings, and it was brought up and it was discussed. This goes back, midsummer, I guess, is when we first talked about it. But at that time, I said we're not interested to sit at the table, but we want to be part of all the information that is gathered and shared.
So I would suggest, Councillor Lubberts, you seem concerned about this. I would suggest that this be part of the report that we'll be asking staff to provide us in the event my motion is passed.
Okay.
And then we can get some further information and background and find out what opportunities there are.
All right, okay, thank you. And if I may, yesterday we had some site visits with the Environmental Advisory Committee, and our chairperson advised us that there was a grant that was available to, I guess, municipalities, and it was in regards to the natural asset management programs that, and I know I brought forward requesting that we discuss that and maybe add some money to our budget. And I think Mr. LaRock told us that the application was finished at the end of January. And I'm just wondering if staff knows anything about it, or if they will look at it. And I know, I don't know if it's going to be, if council hasn't approved the budget, or if they were thinking of looking at it, but if there was some grant money available, maybe we could use that avenue.
I'm going to start with Mr. Brady, and then depending on what comes out of that, I may go to one of the other senior staff members. Mr. Brady.
Certainly. When this issue was raised a little while ago, I had asked Mr. Kernahan to look into this and also to contact Ms. LaRock with information about where these kinds of consulting services could be held, and also to give us some idea on the pricing. Last time I spoke to Matt, he was still waiting for Ms. LaRock's response. I will remind him to contact her again.
Councillor Lubberts?
Yes, all right, thank you. I'm just wondering if staff can notify council as well when any information is brought forward.
I believe that was the intention, is it not, Mr. Brady? Yes.
Yes?
Correct, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Lubberts? Any other councillors? If not, we have a motion, Councillor Noyes, but I believe that's being postponed to January. Okay. And are there any notices of motion? Madam Clerk, I want to give notice of a motion that I wish to have returnable at our December the 9th, 2019 meeting, and it relates to climate change impacts. The council directs staff to prepare a report and provide recommendations with respect to anticipated impacts in the near and long term of climate change, policies that the town of Fort Erie currently has in place to address those impacts, and what policies, programs, and strategies could be adopted, created, and implemented in order to meet the increasing challenges presented by climate change to infrastructure, programs, and services for which the town of Fort Erie is responsible. And I'll provide this to you at the end of the meeting. That then takes us to reports. And Councillor Butler, you have resolution number 7 with respect to the affordable housing study.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott. PDS 63-2019 Town of Fort Erie Housing Needs Study, that Council approves the Town of Fort Erie Housing Needs Study attached as Appendix 1 to Administrative Report Number PDS 63-2019 to guide future affordable housing initiatives within the town, and further, that Council refers the Town of Fort Erie Housing Needs Study to staff, working in conjunction with the town's Affordable Housing Committee to examine and prioritize the policy recommendations and timeframes in sections 4.4 and 4.5 of the study.
So this was a report that was on our agenda last week. Unfortunately, there was a mix-up with respect to Appendix 1. That's now been corrected. So are there any questions or comments? Councillor Butler, did you want to speak to this? I know this is a committee that you're a member of. You don't have to. I'm just offering you the opportunity.
I'll just say one thing, thank you. I know that the committee was excited about getting the report and seeing what we can do to move forward to ensure that affordable housing is in the forefront of council's mind, and that it is to move quickly. And so sections 4.4 and 4.5 were the exact sections that they were concentrating on. I'm looking forward to working with them to see what we can do to recommend to the council to move forward with developers as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Lubberts.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. I'm just wondering if we could add a further, as another that this resolution be passed on to the Niagara Region.
I don't see why we couldn't.
Well, I know they deal with affordable housing.
And
so
we have
I
and we
think-
have had ongoing communication and dialogue with the region. So Councillor Butler, I would consider that to be a friendly amendment, which would simply be that a copy of the housing needs study and this resolution be forwarded to the regional municipality of Niagara for information. Councillor Noyes, to the amendment? Oh, we have to, that's a friendly amendment, so we don't have to have, so, Councillor, before I go to you, Councillor Noyes, you've already asked one question. Or no, that was another report. Councillor Noyes.
You must have anticipated I was going to ask a question. I don't know if it's appropriate or a bit premature that we actually have a roundtable development meeting this week coming, if I'm not mistaken, on Thursday. Would it be prudent to perhaps share this information with them to see if they perhaps can come up with some solutions or incentives that we may not think of? I think it'd be appropriate to share it with the developers because I think they're going to be a big part of the solution.
Well, this is a public document, and I would presume that it's something that would be of interest to the home builders and developers, because this is something that's going to directly have an impact on the work that they do in the town of Fort Erie. So if there is a meeting, I would think that it should be broached by, I don't know, is it the Economic Development Corporation and our planning department that are going to be involved in that?
My understanding is the EDTC is an invitee to this meeting.
Okay,
They're
so
not holding, that the town is actually holding the meeting. Am I correct?
so that would be Mr. Brady? Okay, for sure. So then you'll make this, I believe you would make this known to the developers in the building community? Is that a fair statement?
Council wishes me to do so, I'll certainly bring it to their attention.
I think it would be prudent because it's on the horizon for them as well. Anything further, Councillor Noyes?
Nothing further, thank you.
And I do want to say that the staff representative to this committee, Lindsay Richardson, has done very, very effective and remarkable work for us. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the recommendations? Well, that's part of the recommendation now. Okay. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us to the next report, and Councillor McDermott, you have the resolution for the Black Creek waterfront windows. Resolution number 8.
Yes, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lubberts, that PDS 69-2019, Black Creek waterfront windows, the council receives report PDS 69-2019 for information purposes.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
Redekop. I guess, and I want to, I really can see the amount of work, and I appreciate the staff's input into this. And obviously, I wasn't on council when all this was going down, and there was a lot of public consultation, a lot of public input, even specifically on the road allowances themselves by a few individuals. So it was discussed, and it was, there's ample opportunity for input. My concern rises around the, I'm trying to compare two different reports, the Town of Fort Erie Waterfront Strategy, report number PDS 68, 2017, and the 2018 budget deliberations that talked about the implementation of the landscape design guidelines for public waterfront sites was under the medium term, and I guess this was in 2018 for 3 to 5 years. Well, we're going into year 2020, so it actually would have fit within that. And I see now from the recommendation in the report, I can't find exactly where it was, but they're talking about 2023, 2025. Well, that's way beyond the 3 to 5 year midterm priority that was established in 2018. I would hate to see this, actually I would like to see it move forward, but it seems like now it's even being moved further back. The other concern I had is the amount of how the numbers change, and I know at some point we're crystal ball gazing in 2018 and things have changed till now, but in that budget it was budgeted for $50,000. In the 2021 budget, now that may have been an accumulation of other years too, I'm not sure, but again it referred to, and I couldn't again find that particular thing that I had read, was that there was like 20 hours of staff time, like $50,000 and 20 hours of staff time. And now when I'm looking at this, that if this is moved forward by council, that the staff requirement is going to be pretty intense and pretty extensive, to the point that we'd have to eliminate a lot of the projects that we're planning for 2020. And I don't quite understand why the amount of time is, again, I don't know the scope of the project, so it's hard to say, but in 2018, it looked like there was 20 hours. So I'm not sure where the discrepancy comes now, and I won't be in favor of moving it to 2023 or 2025. My hope is to move it to 2020, but the report's kind of pushing it even further off, and considering that the open houses and all this strategy occurred in 2017 was the report. When you get further and further away from when it was actually proposed, I think things change, and I understand that. But if we're pushing it even further away, people aren't even going to remember what they said in 2017. And there was another point I wanted to make. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. I guess my question was about the signage, where should we not be kind of marrying the signage and the landscape designs and guidelines? I don't know what these signs are going to say, so I'm not quite sure what's on the sign, and that would be helpful. When I talked to Sydney a while ago, it was going to be like a basic sign that we like, swim at your own risk type sign. So not knowing what's going to be on the sign, I would hesitate to put signs up and, saying, open for business, so to speak, or public property without even addressing the concerns that were raised, not just particularly in Black Creek, but the other areas also. So I know we're just accepting this for information purposes, and, but I do have I do have those concerns.
So, Mr. Walsh, I don't know if you were tuning into all of the concerns that were raised by Councillor Noyes. One of them seems to be with respect to the timing of erecting signs and the type of work that would be anticipated at these various waterfront road allowances. Do you have any comments on that?
I'm aware of Councillor Noyes' concerns, Mayor. These signs fall under our wayfinding program. I haven't seen the exact verbiage on these signs, but I think there was discussion maybe a month and a half ago about delaying the implementation of these signs until at least the spring, until more discussion could be had at this forum here, and that's the guidance I'm working on right now.
Okay, and Mr. Brady, I know that Ms. Hanson works in your department. Any comments on the concerns expressed by Councillor Noyes relative to the what appears to be a significant amount of time that will be required to do the landscape design work, et cetera?
Yes, some members of council were with us when we dealt with the road allowances in the sort of over by the one park that we dealt with by Waverly, and recall, I would assume, the amount of time that was spent in terms of dealing with them, which was very staff extensive and very time consuming. I expect that it will be a similar kind of situation when we deal with this. So the notion that it's 20 hours of staff time, I'm not sure how that got into the waterfront strategy, but that certainly is a significant underestimation of the amount of work that will be required, particularly given the conflict which has already arisen in that neighborhood by the actions of a few people there. If you look at the report itself, it identifies in the page 14 some alternatives that the council may wish to think about. And that is, it says, council may elect not to install the signage on the 5 Black Creek waterfront windows till such time as the waterfront landscape design guidelines and standards is complete. So we expect that will be complete someplace between 2023, which is in fact within the medium window of when this was approved, and 2025. So if the concern is that about the signage, then simply don't put the signs in place until such time as this occurs, which is likely to occur based in and around 2023. The alternative is outlined in the reports, there are a number of other parks and activities that can be not moved forward. So if council wishes to do that as part of the budget, that's fine. They can certainly add this to the budget, but it will require that other matters in the capital budget be removed.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Councillor Noyes, did you have any further comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I appreciate the response, but here on page 12 of 14, it says, staff do not anticipate that public consultation will form a significant component of the project, as it is essentially focused on creating a standard and a brand. Staff anticipate the public interest in selecting a style of bench, paving, or lighting will be nominal. So we're not looking at a huge amount of public consult. I think there should be public consultation, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like downplaying the amount of public consultation, but yet I hear that's one of the reasons why it's going to be so staff intensive. But yet the report says we're not going to be doing that to any great extent. And again, not all road allowances are created the same. I can understand that if you're dealing with a beach road allowance, there may be a lot of issues that are quite different than if you're dealing with a creek allowance. And I would think that the creek allowance, which there's 5 in Black Creek, and I'm not sure if there's more around the town, there probably are, that you would probably be dealing with all 5. You wouldn't be dealing with one one-off. It wouldn't be, you'd be dealing with all 5. And I would think that the public consultation might be 2 meetings. And that would probably be sufficient to do it. So I'm still not clear on the timelines that if this moves forward, it's going to take staff such an extensive length of time that, I think they've talked about different parks that would have to be put on hold, different playground installations would have to be done. We couldn't participate in Communities in Bloom next year. I just don't see the correlation. And also, I know that, again, one of the comments made is that that it's still within the timelines. Well, my math says it's not. If it's a 3 to 5 year and it was done in 2017 and then budgeted in 2018, the year 2025 would be outside that 3 to 5 year. Because if I add 5 to 18, I get 2023 as being the last year it should be done. But if I'm going to 2025, then you're 2 years over. So again, I'm looking at the 3 years, not the 5 years. So that I would say that it's within my timeline too for next year, because if you add, well, no, it's not quite. It's 1 year early. It would be 2021. So I'm not in favor of the timeline pushing it back. And again, I'd like some more input and information on why we think all these other things are going to have to fall off the table if we move forward. I just don't get it.
Councillor Noyes, so you've got your motion returnable January the 20th, 2020. We have a budget meeting dealing with the operating budget on January 22nd, and I would hope that staff will have heard the concerns that you've expressed and will be able to provide us with helpful information, both from Public Works, Infrastructure Services, Planning, and Corporate Services, because they all touch on this particular issue. Anything further on the report, Councillor Noyes?
No, just again, I'm grateful to staff for providing the information.
Right. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the recommendation in the report? Yeah, we're receiving it. Okay. All opposed? Okay. Well, at least you were ready for the vote. Okay. That gets us then to consideration of bylaws. Are there any bylaws that anyone wishes removed from the package? If not, I'm going to go back to you, Councillor Butler, because you seem to have a lot of resolutions tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes, that the bylaw package containing 147-2019 to authorize the execution of a subdivision agreement with Royal Oak Property Developments Limited, Brent King, Royal Bridge Phase 1, 148-2019 to authorize the entry into an assignment of lease and acknowledgement of consent with the Fort Erie Economic Development and Tourism Corporation, and 5017018 Ontario Inc., OA, Garrison Square Plaza, Units 1 and 2, 660 Garrison Road, 149-2019 to amend zoning bylaw number 129-90 as amended, removal of holding provision 5045 Abano Dunes Road, Edward and Aaron Sipple, 150-2019 to authorize the entry into a development agreement with Nadine Pizza Corolla and Amanda Kurtz, 3807 Elm Street, is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. The bylaw package is on the floor then for anyone who has any questions or comments. There being none, Councillor McDermott, I'll go to you for third and final reading, please.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lubberts, that bylaw 147-2019, 148-2019, 149-2019, 150-2019 are given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Lubberts, you have the next resolution regarding the confirmatory bylaw.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott. That bylaw number 151-2019 to confirm the action of council at its Council and Budget Committee meeting number 1 held on November 6, 2019, and Council and Committee meeting held on November 12th, 2019, and council meeting held on November 18th, 2019 is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And for third and final reading, Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes that bylaw number 151-2019 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us to scheduling of meetings. Are there any meetings that anyone wishes to announce? Councillor Noyes.
I think I mentioned it earlier, there's the roundtable development meeting this Thursday, and I'm not sure of the exact time. I think it's from 5 to 8.
Mr. Brady, can you fill us in?
Yes, it's from 5 to 8, and it'll be held at the Fire Hall,
Which one?
Central.
Thank you.
And there's a planning development meeting on the 28th at 9 a.m. in Committee Room 3, I think. And on December 3rd, there's an accessibility committee meeting, our Christmas meeting, which would be at 5 o'clock and probably in the atrium and Committee Room 1.
Any other meetings? Councillor Butler?
Thank you, Your Worship. There is a meeting for the Affordable Housing Committee at 9:30 on November 27th in Committee Room number 3.
Councillor Lubberts?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. There is an infrastructure subcommittee meeting on Thursday at 5 o'clock here in the town hall, Committee Room 3.
Correct. Any other meetings? There is a Linking Niagara Transit Committee meeting in at the region on Wednesday, November the 20th at 2 o'clock. If there are no other meetings, then I'm going to go back to Councillor Butler to finish this off.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that council adjourns at 7:17 p.m. to reconvene into a regular meeting of council on December 9th, 2019.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Well done. Thank you all.